ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local women, local now. Member FDIC.
It is Wednesday, March 31st. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program by calling the White Claw phone lines at 877-420-TALK. That is 877-420-8255. White Claw Hard Seltzer. It is made pure. Coming up today on the program, we get a chance to talk to the baseball coach of Marshall University, Jeff Waggoner. He joins us here in the next few minutes. Looking forward to catching up with him. Also, we're going to talk with Jody Demling. He is a Louisville sports writer. He's also the publisher of CardinalAuthority.com. The reason Jody is coming on the program today is because we got the news. Jarrod made the announcement, and then everyone else has followed, that he is going to be Jarrod West, former Marshall player, now a grad transfer. He is going to play for Louisville. So he commits to Louisville, and he said that Chris Mack, the head coach, played a major role in that. We're going to talk to Jody later on in the program, get his thoughts on what this means for Louisville and maybe that relationship that Jarrod has started to form. I think it's a good pick. I like it better than Pittsburgh. And don't get me wrong, Pittsburgh would have been great for him, but I like it better. Also, Ohio State, as much as I think Ohio State's going to do great things in the Big Ten, I just think if you're with Louisville, that's a basketball school more so than Ohio State. Ohio State's had some great success, but Louisville's a basketball school. You're in the Bluegrass State. Kentucky and Louisville, they're basketball schools, and they have a nice rivalry. You get to be in that game, by the way. Kentucky, Louisville, you get to play. That's a huge game to be in. And you get to go up against some of the best talent in the country when you play for Louisville. And if you play Kentucky, you're going to go up against some of the best talent in the country. It's a win for me as far as where he's going to go, and hopefully he can add to Louisville and be a part of something there for him. And I wish him all the best, and we're going to talk to Jody a little bit later on the program. We've got volleyball to get into. Some of the awards come out today, specialty awards, and some good news. 4 Herd players are recognized, and we'll give you the awards. I'll just say this right now. Sierra DeBell's not the player of the year. She should have been in my mind. I wasn't voting. But she's a first-teamer. We'll talk about all of the awards coming up later on, and we're going to hear from the baseball coach, Jeff Waggoner, at about 5:15. So that's what the show looks like today. Football had a chance earlier this afternoon to be on a conference call with the head coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd, Charles Huff. And Coach now is 6 practices in the spring ball. And he did speak to us today about how things are going so far. One of the big question marks heading into spring practice was, how does quarterback Grant Wells look? And Coach Huff says, like the rest of the team, Wells is making progress, but isn't quite where the team needs him to be.
You know, obviously Grant is doing some good things. He looks like he's a lot more mature. Obviously, I have not seen him in the past, but he's making some really good decisions. The same thing goes, one play he looks like Joe Montana. The next play he looks like a sophomore in college. So from a consistency standpoint, we got to get him started first, because obviously the game on offense starts with the quarterback. He is making progress. I think being in this system another year is helping him. But we got to help him. We got to help him play more consistent and eliminate the flash and have more of a consistent light. That's what we're trying to get across.
Now with a new coach comes a new scheme for the Thundering Herd, and Coach Huff today confirmed that Marshall is looking to push the ball down the field and attack on offense. The team is trying to install this new play style in the early parts of spring practice.
The beauty of the system is, yes, we are going to up the tempo. We're going to try to play a lot faster. We are going to push the ball down the field. But when you do that, it really opens up the running game. You know what I mean? So now teams are not in the best position to play both. If we can't push the ball down the field because they're playing a defense that doesn't allow us to do that, then that means they're not playing us to run the ball.
Defensively, the Thundering Herd is going to have a similar approach. It wants to be aggressive, and to do that, Marshall plans on bringing a lot of blitzes to control the tempo on both sides of the ball.
We're going to win or lose the game pressuring. Because for me and my philosophy on offense, the thing you hate the most is having to redirect the mic, slide the line, make sure you're covered on the blitzes, make sure you're protected. It limits what you can do. It limits how fast you play. And it creates an exciting brand of football for the defensive players. And it allows our guys to dictate the tempo on defense. Usually most offenses dictate the tempo. You blitz in certain situations. We want to kind of take a little bit of that control back. When you blitz, the ball comes out a little quicker. So now our corners can play a little bit more stouter on the edge. Now we got an opportunity not to get the ball so far down the field because we're putting a little pressure. It comes out quicker. We can rally to the tackle. So I think it creates a little bit of an advantage for the defense if you can do it and execute. You blitz the wrong gap, you just help the offense. You don't blitz when you're supposed to blitz, you just help the offense. You don't rotate to the right side, you just help the offense. So again, the execution and consistency of it will allow us to do more, or allow us to kind of flirt with it a little bit.
Now, Coach Huff says that despite all the changes, the team seems to be buying in and that the players are getting better each day.
These guys have done everything we've asked them to do. They don't know how to do it yet, but they are doing what we're asking them to do. They're still learning when the horn blows, where to go. So that's part of it. It's hard to tell if a player is willing if he doesn't know. Because obviously when we all start thinking, we slow down. So what we're trying to do is stay as consistent as possible in our approach, practice schedule, times of practice, how many reps, as consistent as we can, so they get a little bit of a routine. We are a talented football team, but again, I don't want to paint a dark picture. Talent doesn't win football games. Talent wins the NFL Combine. You go, you run a good 40, everybody claps. Execution and consistency and performance wins football games.
That's Coach Huff from earlier this afternoon. We'll have more from Coach's conversation with the media later this week. When we continue, we're going to hear from the head baseball coach of the Marshall Thundering Herd, Jeff Waggoner, on his team's progress so far in Conference USA. We'll talk to him when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
Still to come, we're going to talk to one of the publishers of CardinalAuthority.com, Jody Demling. Jarrod West making his commitment to Louisville today. That's still to come on the program, and your phone calls at 877-420-TALK. That's 877-420-8255. Want to turn our attention now to Thundering Herd baseball, and it's been a while, and we're going to fix that right now. He hasn't been on the program since last year. The head coach of the Marshall baseball team, Jeff Waggoner, joins us. And, Coach, it's good to talk to you again. I didn't know if we'd ever get games going on again, and thankfully we've been pretty successful so far with them.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad.
It's been a long time. It's been forever since I've been on the radio with you.
Yeah.
And thank God we got sports.
Yes,
that's
right?
All I'm gonna say. I mean, we got basketball. We had a great football season, and the chance to even get a chance to play baseball right now is amazing after the long year it was last year.
How challenging has that been for you? I've talked to everyone about what their individual challenges have been as coaches, and then just putting things together. What's been the challenges for you trying to navigate all this?
Well, Paul, our season got canceled last year on our way to Rice, and we were getting ready to board the plane, and we found out that the basketball tournament was canceled, and I knew we were next, and we were able. From then on, we weren't able to work with players. You can't recruit. You're not doing anything to better the program, and it's very frustrating. It was very frustrating, and we're still not allowed to recruit until May 31st, and that could get pushed back too. But we're allowed to play games now. We're working with the players. We're dealing with COVID, like every team is. But still, there's that opportunity that we didn't have last year, and it just feels good to get back into it.
Now that you're actually getting back into it, how do you feel so far about the team? Let's not look at the record. Let's just look at how you feel
Sure.
about the team. Where are you at right now as far as getting this team back to where you think they should be?
Well, it starts with we had 40 games this year. Our opponents have 56, so we're 16 games behind, and not being able to play the first couple weekends was hard. It was a challenge to watch other teams in the country play and your conference play, and you're not playing, and they're getting all those games in the head, and we're trying to run practices as game-like as possible. But as you can do whatever you can try to make your practices game-like as possible, but until you get across that line and play a game, it's not the same, and we start the season, and we haven't been playing as well as we need to, and we've got a lot of talent. I guess I'll take the blame for that. We're not running the pressure offense that we normally play. Our defense has been good. Our pitching's been good at times, but we haven't put it together. We're pitching and offense has been working together, and we just got off a tough road series with Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic's really good. We've lost some guys to COVID, like most teams do. I mean, it's that roller coaster ride, and hopefully we get them all back. We're supposed to get them back after Old Dominion series. And I think we've got 4 pitchers out. One of our starting catchers, an outfielder. But at the same time, we've had other guys step up. Kyle Schaefer stepped up behind the plate, and he's played really well. Other pitchers have stepped up. That's what it is. I guess the positive you look at is some guys might not be getting the same amount of time, but you're finding out what they can do. And I think that's going to help the program in the long run.
You come off the FAU series, and you mentioned Old Dominion. What do you need to do between now and when you play Old Dominion to maybe advance or to get a little bit better from that FAU series?
I think we had a big win against West Virginia, and that was a good momentum. And we went in, and we had a couple of chances against Florida Atlantic. We were up 6-0 in the last inning in the third game at Florida Atlantic, and we just didn't get it done. We made some mistakes that normally we wouldn't. We got to eliminate the mistakes of freebies. Hit batters, walks, errors. Just things that we're beating ourselves. And that the message to the team's been, we got to stop worrying about our opponent. Our opponents are not beating us; we're beating our own self. And if we do that, we're going to be a good team. And we get everybody back from COVID. And make a run late. And this is going to be a good team. We got a good pitching staff. Our defense can be really good, and we got athleticism on the offense. So it's really just about putting it all together and worrying about us and doing the things that we need to do and making sure that we're not beating ourselves on the field.
With everyone coming back for the most part, and the way that the NCAA has handled this, you've got an opportunity here to really build a strong, cohesive unit. With
Sure.
the inability to recruit right now, how important is that for you just to have a core group of guys that you can hang on to for the most part and try to build something with, since they're getting an extra year?
That's a great point. I think it's really important, that guys get an extra year, the seniors get an extra year, and then everybody else came back a year, and then everybody else gets another year. It's really valuable, especially for guys that don't get as much playing time, with some older guys ahead of them. Just learning the game, learning how to make adjustments, and then obviously the bigger, stronger, faster, another year in the weight room, and learning the system and learning the conference. It's a really good baseball conference, and these guys, the better teams I've had were veterans that have played in the conference. They know how good it is, and how to win in this conference. And just one of the things we're not doing right now. We don't know how to win, and we're beating ourselves. So I think it's very valuable to be able to have a group together for 2 or 3, 4 years that could do something special here soon or in the next couple of years.
Yeah, and the plus side of that as well is, I was hoping that here soon we'd be talking about some beautiful construction going on for a new ballpark for you. And with this pandemic, everything's been pushed back, and it's still coming. It's just we don't know when yet. With this group of guys, though, you might have they might get to open that place here in a few seasons if everything plays out well. And we've already seen what an atmosphere looks like when you've got fans showing up, cheering for the herd. Look at the WVU game as an example. Multiply that atmosphere for a conference game here in Huntington on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon, in your own home ballpark. And that's something I'm sure these kids are still excited for. Hopefully they get to that point.
Yeah, Paul, I drive by the sign every day. So there's nobody. I've been in the here for 15 years, and there's nobody that wants it more than I do. And I know the players, the recruits that you're bringing in, are constantly talking about it, and I know our administration, Mike Hamrick, and our president, and our mayor want it. We did the groundbreaking ceremony. Shoot, it's probably been about almost a year and a half now since we've had the groundbreaking ceremony, and with the things that have gone on in the world, it has been pushed back. But I know that we'll be moving forward on it soon. It only makes it more special, and you're right that the city of Huntington and Marshall fans can see how good this conference is. I don't think people realize how good this conference is, and to be able to see those teams come in and how many draft picks are on each team and guys that play in the big leagues from this conference. They'll get an opportunity to see that. And, what a special time though. It'll be great to start like you said, a Friday or Saturday to come out to a ball game and watch exciting baseball.
Now you've got the heart of the conference schedule going now. As we mentioned, Old Dominion, you've got them at home and then on the road at Western Kentucky. So it kind of feels like you're back into a rhythm now. You mentioned
sure.
You're behind on games compared to other teams, but you're still in a rhythm, and you still got that road trip to the WVU for the home and home series with them. But other than that, do you feel like you're now in a good place where you can start to build a rhythm with this team? The schedule doesn't look like it's going to change. You don't have to worry about scheduling last-minute games, or will somebody be able to play unless a conference opponent tests positive. You pretty much maybe feel like it's normal now.
Yeah, I do. You always have that the COVID could hit a team, and I told our team that there was going to be some adversity. We're going to start later than everybody else. You could lose a series. We lost Ohio University earlier this year, and had to find a school quick. We found Mercer and went down to play them. So, we've been on the road for 3 weeks, and I think it's going to be really nice to come home and play 4 games, and then be able to go back on the road and play Western, and then come back and that's when and get these guys back from COVID. And I feel like the team is going to really start clicking and playing well. And we got a special group of guys that work their tail off, and they want to be great. So that's the first sign of I know we're gonna get there, and we've seen them play well. It just hasn't been consistent, and I'm looking forward to seeing these guys play on a consistent basis coming up. And practicing less. To be honest with you, we need to play games.
Marshall University baseball coach Jeff Waggoner joins us on the program. Coach, before I let you go, I was kind of curious, looking at what the games you've got so far under your belt and your squad, who's standing out to you right now, and where are you the happiest as far as what your guys are doing?
I think I'd start with the overall. I think our defense has been pretty solid for the most part all year. Even when guys were out for COVID, other guys stepped in and played good defense. Our pitching, for the most part, has been consistent. I was really happy with our starting pitching this weekend. And they haven't. Some of those guys haven't been in that role as starters, but they stepped up and they pitched well as starters. The guys that I feel like have really played well so far, the first one offensively would be Luke Edwards. Luke is a COVID freshman. He's played really well. He's swung really well, and other guys have started getting hot. That's been better offensive players over the years, but Luke's been probably most consistent right now. Chad Heiner threw really well against Florida Atlantic, Cabell Midland High School. And it's good to see that the local guys stepping in and playing really well, and he's pitched really well so far. And DeAndre Knight coming out of the bullpen has pitched really well. So it's just getting more of those guys ready. We had a couple injuries too that we've counted on in the past. The guys have pitched well, and they're going to start coming back. So I feel like this team can do some damage coming up towards middle to end of the conference play.
Good luck with the series against Old Dominion. We'll get you back in here soon. Now that we actually have games again, we can bring you back in more often.
Yeah, talk baseball. It's we got opening day coming up in Major League Baseball, and it just feels good to get back on a diamond.
You're gonna be able to contain yourself tomorrow. I mean, opening day. We got baseball.
I don't know. I was supposed to be watching film on Old Dominion, but I might be watching Major League Baseball instead. It's gonna be too much for me.
You can do both. You can do both. You can delegate some of that, right?
I'm gonna watch as much as Old Dominion I can tonight, and then I gotta check out opening day in baseball. There's no way I can miss that.
Are you gonna channel surf, or are you gonna focus in on a couple of teams?
I guess the older you get, you try to watch the players you either coached or you coached against, probably more than teams. To me, it's more interesting to watch those guys and guys like Anthony Rendon that you remember coaching against. All-stars in the big leagues. It's just fun to watch those guys, and I don't really get caught up in the teams as much anymore.
Well, if you want to add to your watching, we've got the Pirates 155 airtime tomorrow on the radio. So if you want to just throw that on the background as well, I
don't know if I can watch the Pirates now. I've always been a Tribe fan, so I don't know if I can break away and watch the Pirates.
Okay, I mean you don't have to watch them. Just keep it in the background. Maybe root against them.
There you go.
I'll figure it out for you. We'll get you a schedule here. We'll get you a schedule when you can listen in for your team, Coach. Good talking to you again. Glad we got some games we can get you back on and talk to you about, and we'll do it again real soon.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's exciting to get back on the radio and talk about baseball, and I look forward to talking to you soon and seeing this team, gaining some ground and playing with some confidence and getting back to who they should be.
Enjoy tomorrow. I know it's going to be a big, fun day for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
Jeff Waggoner, head coach of the Marshall baseball team. He's excited. He's like a kid in a candy store. When we continue, we're going to talk about Jarrod West. He makes the decision to commit to Louisville. And joining us on the program next to talk about it is Jody Demling from CardinalAuthority.com when we continue with today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We're taking Paul Swann everywhere. Download or subscribe to The Drive with Paul Swann on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We are presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Welcome back to this Wednesday, March 31st edition of The Drive. Paul Swann, your host. Earlier this week when we spoke to Jarrod West about his transfer, he was looking at Ohio State, Pittsburgh, and Louisville. Well, he makes the commitment today to Louisville, and it looks like Chris Mack, head coach of the Louisville Cardinals, played a major role in landing West. And joining us now on the program, we've got from CardinalAuthority.com, Jody Demling. And Jody, this is a kid that a lot of Herd fans love, so we're excited for him going to Louisville. He said he wanted to play with tougher competition, get his name out there, and it seems like Louisville's landed a pretty good kid.
Well, first of all, yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing to me is Louisville was looking for an experienced guard and somebody to help with, some leadership maybe off the floor and that kind of thing. And from everybody that I've talked to, he sounds just like the perfect kid for that, because he's played in so many games and he just seems like everybody really likes him. And again, that's before we even start talking about his talent on the floor. I think it's a home run off the floor for Chris Mack and his staff. And on the floor, I think he's going to fit in perfect. I mean, the stat numbers are ridiculous when you really look at his career and everything. Like, I mean, everything. They're so good. And it's not like they weren't playing good competition because, you see the competition. I mean, it is good competition that he was going up against. And so that's what makes it – I think the total package really makes it a big-time get for Louisville. There's a lot of guys in the portal. There's a lot of guys that Louisville has been in contact with. But he was the main guy that they really wanted for the last couple of weeks.
Do you see him as more of a role player, presence player, or do you see him starting on this lineup once we get everything situated and we've got a new season to talk about?
I'll answer that in June. No, Carlik Jones is the wild card because he really is, and I think Jarrod knows that. I think the other guys that they're recruiting know that, and I think Carlik Jones knows that. Carlik Jones was the runner-up for ACC Player of the Year as a guard, as kind of the lead guard last year. He's not decided if he's coming back yet or not. He's got that extra year of eligibility. I think he will go through a bit of the NBA process and then make a decision. At this point, I'm not sure which way he's leaning one way or the other. David Johnson's the other guard that was on the team last year, has not announced anything yet, but I think he's leaning towards going to the NBA draft. So if they get one of those two guys back, I still think that Jarrod probably starts in the backcourt next year for Louisville. But again, it all depends on how everything else plays out. But they're not. I mean, they're bringing him in here to fill a major void and a major role for them. There's a chance by the end of June that they still only have about 4 guards on this roster, just because of guys leaving and some other guys, other things that have happened over the course of the last couple of years. So yeah, I think he will start, but we'll know more for sure when Carlik Jones makes that decision.
You know what the Herd fans and the people who know Jarrod's reaction is to this? We love the kid. What has the fan base said so far, or as they get to know what they've got themselves into with him? I mean, are they excited? Are they curious? What's the feel you're getting so far?
I think it's kind of been like this with, so to go back, Louisville, Damian Lee and Trey Lewis back in the Rick Pitino era were really the first 2 kind of grad transfers or the transfers that we had. Louisville never had really kind of dipped their toe into that water. Since then, they've had a couple each year. For the most part, they've all worked out really, really well, like Carlik Jones, like Damian Lee, like Trey Lewis. Christian Cunningham is another one that comes to mind. Louisville's really only had 1 or 2 transfers in the last 6 or 7 years that haven't worked out. So I think the fan base has come to know, okay, we're not going to get our hopes way too high, but we know that if they're bringing someone in here, it's going to be somebody that's going to help the program and make the team better. And I do think the numbers, I think the amount of games played and the numbers that he put up at Marshall, I think are what really makes everybody, curious to be like, is he going to be like Carlik Jones was last year and go from being a guy who put up really good numbers and come into Louisville and then take that next step up and be one of the best players in the ACC? Or is he going to be more of a role player? I think it's more towards the guy who's going to be, sort of like Carlik was this year, and knowing what they've got back and what they've got coming in, they're going to need him to do that. So I think that's why the fan base is excited.
Jody Demling joins us. He covers Louisville, been doing it for several years, also the publisher of CardinalAuthority.com. And with a kid like Jarrod, he's got a basketball IQ that's off the charts. He's a gym rat. He's the first one in practice, last one off the court. He's like a bulldog. He wants the best guy. He always wants the best guy. And he is a type of kid that you look at him, you think, oh, okay, this kid's all right. He's not the tallest kid on the court, but he's definitely a bulldog coming into this. And he has said that he wants to play potentially for a national championship. He wants to play the best competition possible. And he mentioned that the history of Louisville basketball really excited him. Is that a good sign for you that Louisville is almost back? It's got that swagger back again. People are remembering that, hey, Louisville's a pretty big deal in the basketball world.
Yeah, it really is. First of all, with what you just described, by the way, that's exactly what type of player Chris Mack likes to have. I mean, that kind of blue-collar guy, the guy that's going to get to the gym and do everything and get better each and every single day. So what you described, that's why I always thought that the two would be a great marriage if they got together and Jarrod, once he went to the transfer portal, if this thing worked out. But yes, I think the fact of him mentioning that, other guys that have been in the portal, that are in the portal, guys that are, younger classes. Look, it's no secret. Louisville's been through a lot as a program in the last, 8 to 10 years, from winning a national championship to having that national championship taken away to still having a cloud over their head, which nobody knows when the last part of the NCAA sanctions are going to happen. Will it be 2022? Will it be 2023? Will it be even later than that? Will it be any time at all? Nobody knows that. And so there's still a little bit of a cloud hanging over what Coach Mack and his staff are trying to do. And it really is, when you hear a guy like Jarrod, who has been through the wars and the battles and is experienced, and he says that, and young kids are starting to kind of say that about Louisville's program again, it really does make you feel like, okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's a lot of dark days in the past with Louisville basketball and things that have happened off of the floor, but it feels like it's coming to an end.
Joining us on the program, and you're going to see more coverage of Jarrod West on CardinalAuthority.com. And we border Kentucky here we're in a tri-state area. So, Jody, maybe an opportunity for you to introduce yourself to more fans who follow the Wildcats or follow the Cardinals, want to kind of broaden their horizons. Tell us a little bit about Cardinal Authority and what you do.
Yeah, it's actually been fun. I actually worked at the newspaper in Louisville and did high schools and recruiting and all kinds of stuff for like 20 years. And it's getting close to 10 years, I guess, like 9 years ago now. I went and I worked I'm the publisher of Cardinal Authority, and it covers basketball, but football and other sports, and a lot, mainly recruiting for 24/7 sports. And, it's a lot of fun. Look, Louisville, like I said with the basketball program, there's been a lot of lows in Louisville athletics in the last few years because of things that have happened off of the field. But it's a great program to cover and a great program to follow, and it's a very passionate fan base. And we've seen, I think Jarrod has kind of seen that since he made his announcement, because there's a lot of Twitter activity and a lot of social media activity and a lot of positive response. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's fun to get to know. I've spent a lot of time all over the state, and have spent a lot of time, in the area, near the border there in the tri-state area, and it's fun to get to know someone and like Jarrod, and I'm excited to watch him play, and like I am with everybody. And by the way, I do a lot of recruiting, so I know he has a younger brother, and I think I saw Coach Mack followed the younger brother on Twitter too. So I wouldn't be shocked if they might start reaching out to Mr. West again about another son.
Not a bad idea. And here's what impressed me. For a minute, I was sitting there thinking, okay, Jarrod wants to play against tough, high-caliber competition. All right, he loves defense. His father played for West Virginia. Maybe he's going to finish his career in Morgantown, maybe play for Coach Huggins. But when he mentioned the list of who he's narrowed it down to, I was surprised, and also I kind of smiled because I thought, okay, Ohio State's really good right now. And Pitt would be good as well. I think that would be, but really Louisville would be the probably best fit for him. And I'm just impressed that he maybe just took my advice and did that, and at the same time, maybe didn't consider West Virginia. So that's really impressive for what Louisville was able to do.
Yeah, no, and I think it was. And from what I understand, literally within the first hour he went in the portal, it was a guy that Chris Mack reached out to, and like I said, that to me showed me that it wasn't an assistant, it wasn't anybody. I heard it was Coach Mack, and to me, and I think that shows the kid and the family too of the interest level, and I know that they're really high on him. Like I said, I'm excited. I was really excited last year with Carlik Jones. I mean, you're getting the all conference, the player of the year out of the conference from Radford, who had a great career. I'm just as excited for this one, and he might not be the scorer that Carlik Jones is, but he can do so many other things and impact the floor in so many different ways. And if you can team Carlik Jones and Jarrod West up for a season, you're putting 3 pit bulls on the floor. Yeah, I know it's only 2 players, but they're like a pit bull and a half of each one of them. From the clips that I've seen of Jarrod, are similar in the ways to Carlik, just different talent, just different skills, but the same kind of attitude. I would be super, super excited if that comes to fruition. And like I said, it could very well happen.
Our guest, Jody Demling, he has covered Louisville for a long time and now the publisher of CardinalAuthority.com. And for Herd fans that maybe want to check out what he's saying about Jarrod West and what his writers are saying, go to CardinalAuthority.com. And do I understand this right? For a month of coverage, $1? Did I read that right? $1?
Yep. That's what it is. We do specials every now and then, but yeah, if you want to read up on Jarrod, we've got a couple stories now, a commitment story and a reaction story, and then we'll have a Q&A in the morning, with him to kind of go through some more. And Louisville's got some other look. They've got another spot open. Noah Locke. We've got a story up right now. Coach Mack did a virtual visit with Noah Locke, who's a knockdown 3-point shooter from Florida. He averaged 11 points in over 3 years for Florida. If they could get a guy like that, or Rocket Watts, the kid from Michigan State, is another elite level guard. They need one more piece to the puzzle, in my opinion, to put them in the mix and, for people talking about them to win the ACC championship next year. And look, the ACC is not going to be like it was this year. The ACC was down this year. So many guys went into the draft or into the portal or just graduated last year. There's a lot of young guys, though, that are really, really talented, and a lot of the recruiting rankings have ACC teams at the top. The ACC is going to be loaded again next year, and I think Louisville's going to be right there in the mix. And again, like I said, you throw Jarrod in there, and they've got one more spot that they need to fill right now on the roster. And if they can do that and get them a shooter and or perhaps a help on the inside, then I think it really strengthens them. And Jarrod's talk about playing for a title and getting to be in the conversation. I think that comes. I think that probably comes with it, and I think that can happen next year.
Jody, we appreciate your time today. Good luck with everything, and we'll be checking out CardinalAuthority.com, and can't wait to see what Louisville fans and you have to say about Jarrod. Jody Demling, we appreciate him for being on the program. We will wrap up the program. You got to pull that down sometimes, Nick. Jody Demling from CardinalAuthority.com. We will wrap up the program when we continue here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank.
We are wrapping up today's edition. Paul Swann, your host here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Tomorrow's an off day. We get to sit back and enjoy Pirates baseball. It's opening day, so no show tomorrow. Unless there's a rain out, then we might come on the air. No, we're taking the day off tomorrow. I'm taking the day off. Nick Verzolini, our producer, intern extraordinaire, taking the day off tomorrow. Back on Friday. And hopefully we're talking about Marshall Volleyball. By the way, they're in the Conference USA tournament. We can watch baseball tomorrow. We can watch volleyball tomorrow. And we've got some of the specialty awards out today from Conference USA. And first of all, Sarah Shank. She was named Libero of the Year. And Destiny Leon, I get that wrong every time. Let's start again. Destiny Leon chosen as Defensive Player of the Year. So congratulations to Sarah Shank being named the Libero of the Year and Destiny Leon chosen as a Defensive Player of the Year. And then Sierra DeBell named First Team All-Conference USA. That's the second consecutive season for her. and senior Sydney Lastumo, along with Shank and Leon, were selected second team All-Conference USA. I think DeBell got robbed. Player of the year, right? I think she got robbed just a little bit. So congratulations to Sierra DeBell, to Destiny Leon, to Sarah Shank, and to Sydney Lastumo for their honors in Conference USA and Marshall Volleyball. Hey, I still think that DeBell, probably one of the best players in the league. She's named first team. That's a consolation prize to be sure, but I think she definitely had to be in the conversation for Player of the Year in Conference USA. That's going to do it for this edition. For our producer extraordinaire, see, you've been promoted, Nick Verzolini. I appreciate his help in putting this today together. He did a fantastic job. I'm Paul Swann. Thanks for tuning in to today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.